These workshops are primarily about Shakespeare, the speaking of Shakespeare now. The bottom line question must surely be, how does the modern actor connect with that often extravagant language, yet feel truthful in today's world? As soon as we look at a Shakespeare play, we know it is different in some way. We can see it is mainly written in blank verse. We know the verse line is an iambic pentameter. Now, don't be put off by the term iambic pentameter. All it means is that there are 5 stressed beats in each line, and in each line, each beat is made up of 1 weak and 1 strong syllable. Ti-tum, 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 ti-tum. And when the iambic pentameter pattern is broken, it is telling us something, i.e. there is a clue to the character and the situation because the rhythm is broken somewhere. Within that strict iambic beat, there is an infinite variation of rhythm and word texture. We know that the writing moves often into prose, and when it does, there is a reason for it. We know also that it contains forms of rhetoric like antithesis, assonance, alliteration, ladders of thought, etc., all of which we will be investigating in these workshops. The exercises I've developed are about setting up certain physical resistances in order to help the actor release the language and also your subconscious reaction to it. Because often one is so caught up in making sense of it that you lose that need or lose the possibility of the language. And it is not until we release it that we find the possibility of the meaning. I hope we'll see that accent in itself is not a stumbling block. By that I mean actors often feel that the most important thing in Shakespeare is to speak it right, either in received pronunciation in the UK or standard American. I believe this emasculates the language, makes it feel at a distance. After all, Shakespeare did not write in received pronunciation or standard American. What we in this group have to find is the muscularity of this language, the sense that words, thoughts are movement within ourselves. We want it to sound as though it is being spoken for now, yet we also want to honor the rhythm and the image, because the image tells us about that interior world. So how do we enter this imaginative world? If we keep it as only being truthful to ourselves now, we diminish it. And as actors, we have to ask, is there something here which takes us further than the psychological dilemma of the character? We also need to get the audience to hear something beyond the text, beyond the literal understanding of the motive, the feeling, the meaning, to hear what is under the text. And so much has been written about Shakespeare and about how to perform it as if there were a right way, that it is difficult to throw all that out of the window and allow our intuition to work, allow us to hear it within ourselves. We want to make it seem ordinary but not be ordinary. Words should disturb, delight and provoke the hearer, and not merely make sense. Our job is to make people think as well as feel, otherwise we patronize. But to get to this point, we need to work, we need to practice this language to see how its form and music connects with us, with and informs our world. Now, in these workshops, I'm going to be working with Andrew Wade, who is my colleague at the Royal Shakespeare Company. He will be also leading the preparation video. So this is Andrew. Now, I would like to get on to some work. So gallop apace, you fiery-footed steeds, towards Phoebus' lodging. Enough talk. Let's work. Now we start our exploration with a straightforward piece of storytelling, the prologue from Romeo and Juliet. This sets up the plot of the play, and like any good story, it excites our interest and makes us want to listen. It is particularly useful because we don't have to worry about character, and so we can concentrate on the form in which it is written. We will find out it tells us so much about the verse rhythms which Shakespeare uses throughout his work. The iambic pentameter. What I'd like to do is that you read it, we read it all together, and can you just move around anywhere in the space, muttering it over to yourselves? Right? Okay, yeah, muttering.
Two households, both alike in dignity, fair
Walking round, speaking it all together, frees us and so helps us to feel the movement of the language itself. We become familiar with the text without feeling any pressure to do it right, for no one is listening.
With the patient ears attend, what ears shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend.
Okay, right. Now, I'm starting with this because it isn't to do with character, do you see, and it's quite good to isolate certain things on it. Just let's do it again. Beating the meter out. Now, if we take that meter as to tum, so we're now going to beat out the weak and the strong syllables. Notice how much the stress can vary within a single line. It is like there is a tussle going on between the words we stress to keep the meter and the words we need to stress in order to make sense. Just beating it very gently. The important thing is that we notice when the meter stress and the sense stress do not coincide. Does that make sense? Okay. So just beat it through very gently like that. To households both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, from fortune grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death breed their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, has now the 2 hours traffic of our sage. The which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Yes, what do you notice?
You catapulted over continuance.
What? Yes, continuance. I mean, that's very full there. But then those things happen lots in the plays, you know, particularly in the late plays when the lines are very full, you know, and you have to work out where that underlying beat is. Is that underlying beat important anyway? What does it do for it? Perhaps the bottom line in Shakespeare is A, that there is not a full stop till the end of the play, or we have to look at it that way, and B, there's energies of different kinds going on all the time, and one energy is in this meter, is how that beat goes through, and you can't stop on it too much. I mean, it is there that we have to feel it. So let's do it again, just quite gently. To households both alike in dignity, in fair Verona where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes... You can hear that the meter stress goes to households both alike in dignity, and it's quite regular. But to make absolute sense of it, we need to take time over those first 2 words, 2 households, and then both alike in dignity. You can hear how the vowels and consonants in those first 2 words take longer to speak, whereas in the end words, they are quite short. And naught could remove has now the 2 hours traffic of our stage, the which if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. It's quite interesting, isn't it, when you do that? What do you hear from it? I mean, all this, the whole of the 3 workshops is really about what we hear under the language, what is there underneath. Some words take much longer to say, for instance, don't they? And that tells us the continuance of their parents' reign. Do you see? All sorts of things happen, and yet there is a beat behind it, underneath, which is sort of keeping it together, keeping its form together. Right. So, should we stand up and do it? Okay. And just walk around and, again, doing it for your own sense. Changing direction on punctuation marks. Okay, just to get familiar with it. Go. By changing direction at the punctuation marks, we very quickly get a sense of how the thoughts are moving. This is a really useful exercise when working on character. We discover that thought is movement, and it makes us realize how rapidly we change direction in our minds. Thought is also breath. So we start to experience how we are breathing as a character. We have been doing these exercises as a group, but they can be done equally well on your own. Okay, back in a circle. I'd like to read it